So welcome to the Diplomat with Stephen Taylor. It's good to have you here. Thank you for joining us today. And today in conversation with the Consul General of Spain, José. How are you, my friend?
Very well, thank you. Nice being with you.
Thank you for being here. How do we say your surname? Or how do we say your full name?
Well, José Pablo Alzina. The point is that in Spain, the G's are very strong, you know? The
So
J.
you say your name, I said José. So you said José.
José, yeah.
Oh, wow.
With an accent in the E at the end, José.
José.
Although in family terms, you will say José.
Okay.
You will put the accent at the beginning in the O.
Wow.
But I mean, the proper way to do it is José.
José. Okay.
It's very popular in Spain. I mean, in Spain, if you find a man, you know, and you call him either José or Juan or Antonio, you will have, 80% possibilities of being right, you know?
Wow, that's true. I like that's very
It's
true.
a very popular name.
Yes. So José, tell us about you, where you grew up. You obviously were born in Spain, right? So
Yeah, I was born in Spain, but by the way, I was the only brother that was born in Spain because my father was a diplomat and he lived in many different countries. So out of 7 brothers, the only one who was born in Spain, in Madrid, was me.
Oh, wow.
The point is that my mother was from Madrid and she was fed up with having children all around the world, and she wanted to have me in Madrid,
Sure.
where she was born, though my father was posted in Italy at that moment. So my mother went to Spain specifically to give me birth in Madrid.
Sure. That's amazing. So is that where your love for the diplomatic service came from, following your father, seeing what he was doing?
Yes, to say the truth, yes. Yes, it was a sort of very spontaneous, natural thing for me to do, you know, because I would live this sort of life, you know, and see what my father was doing and other relatives. So you became more familiar with that. And of course, you always have the tendency to be more interested or to like more the things with which you are more familiar.
Yes.
I enjoyed university very, very much. And for some time, I had the idea to become a university teacher.
Oh, wow.
And indeed, I worked at university for several years. But finally, you know, maybe the inertia or the attraction of this way of life was stronger than the attraction of university.
So your father was representing what country?
Spain, of course. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, he was born in Spain as well?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So was he a consul general as well, or an ambassador?
Well, he had many different postings, but when I was born, he was a consul general in Milan.
Oh, wow.
In Italy.
Okay.
Yes.
Is he still around?
No, she passed away some years ago.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so how did you start in the diplomatic corps? I know it works differently for each country. Mm-hmm. In Spain, how does it work? Did you have to write a test, or how does it?
Well, we have basically a system based on exams. Okay. You know, which means it's a kind of complex exams with many different parts. You have tests, you have exams, oral exams on different subjects. In my times, you had 350 different subjects.
Jeez.
And you have to suffer to talk about some of them for 10 minutes each.
Wow.
Nowadays, I think it's 200.
Jeez.
And then you also have language exams, you must write some essays, and you also have some sort of practical legal tests,
wow,
you know, about different questions of law or of diplomatic practice. And after that, you have some real practice at the ministry or at an embassy or at a consular office abroad, you know. So it's both, but you're already a civil servant. Mm. So it's a sort of, we don't base ourselves in interviews and as in other foreign services. It's mainly very neutral, you know, very objective and very much like in the, so to speak, French tradition of the public administration.
Okay, so where was your first posting?
My first posting, well, it was at the ministry.
Okay.
I mean, my first posting within the foreign service. My first post abroad was in former Yugoslavia, in Belgrade. And before at the ministry, I was posted at the protocol service and at the Eastern Europe desk. And of course, naturally, I went from the Eastern Europe desk to my post in Belgrade, just before the war started.
Wow. Were you there during the war?
No, I left on time. Yes.
Oh, wow. Get me out.
Of course, it was very exciting, would have been very exciting to be there, but of course, you have some terms in office and you must respect them and you must go to another country. But of course, I could live all the years before the war started, or at least more than the war, the breakup of Yugoslavia.
Yes.
You know, the war, and as far as NATO was involved and all that, started many years later, some years later. But it was just in the period before when Milosevic took power in Serbia and in Yugoslavia and with all the conflicts there.
And then after that, where were you?
I went to Central America, to Honduras,
Oh, wow.
a Spanish-speaking country, and I was very lucky to be there because
Small, eh?
it's a small country. It's true, but very interesting, very attractive. And I was there posted in 1992, which means during the celebrations and commemorations of the 5th centenary of the arrival of Spain and of of Colón to America. So it was very nice to, to enjoy the atmosphere of, two continents that met 500 years ago, and now you will meet them again, and interact with them in 1992. It was also the year, you remember, of the Olympic Games in Barcelona.
That's right,
and of the Universal Exhibition in Seville. So from the point of view of the international action and presence of Spain, it was a wonderful year to be posted in a Spanish-speaking country.
And I remember that, talking about Barcelona in 1992, I remember that song from Freddie Mercury, the opera song, Barcelona.
Yeah.
That was a nice song, wow.
Oh, yes. Together with Montserrat Caballé, they made a wonderful
See, you know the name, I don't know how to say that. That's why I just like Freddie Mercury, I know Freddie Mercury. So, all right, so Honduras, small country. After that, where were you?
Well, I went to the UK, and then, I was also posted later in the Netherlands, in Australia, and in Brazil, with also some postings in Spain. So I have never specialized, really. I have been in 4 different continents.
Sure.
As you realize, the only one missing is Asia.
Yes.
So let's see if I have if my next opportunity is in Asia.
Yes.
But for the moment, I am very happy, that I really went through different countries, through different posts, Did
you learn a lot?
Well, I learned, and above all, I enjoy it. Of course, you never seize all the opportunities to learn and to really, accumulate experience, and then the next country gives you the opportunity to do it better.
Yes.
But above all, I have enjoyed tremendously.
So had you been to Cape Town, South Africa before you were posted here?
No, never. It was a dream because of 2 coincidences, so to speak. One was that when I was making the exam for the diplomatic service, as I told you, I had 360 different subjects that I had to learn. One of the subjects was Africa.
Really?
Okay? And then among the different candidates, we formed groups to, of course, each one will make a subject. They had to be 12 pages long.
Yeah.
And then we would share the different works. And then my work was about Africa, one of them, and specifically about apartheid. And I will always remember, because then, of course, what I did, I got a good book, and that book was called, maybe you would remember, it was a wonderful, thorough study of the United States Senate called South Africa Time Running Out. It was thick as this. I remember, I can see, the front page. I still can remember it. And then from there, I took all the notes about South Africa and, of course, apartheid, all these sort of things. That was so, and from then on, I was always somehow in my back mind, let's see if one day I get posted in South Africa.
Wow.
And then it turned out also that, I got married to a Dutch lady, when I was posted in Belgrade. And then it turns out that some of her uncles emigrated to South Africa in the 1950s and in the 1960s.
Wow.
So she always wanted us to be posted in South Africa to get more in touch with her relatives, her cousins, her uncles, and so forth. So finally, there was an opportunity to come here. We seized it, and we were lucky enough to come
And so you'd heard about South Africa, you'd obviously at that time spoken about, do you know about apartheid? I think the book that you're mentioning, the United States Senate, I think at that time I remember seeing a video of Joe Biden actually speaking in the Senate and talking about apartheid. And yeah, that's what I remember about that. So hearing about South Africa, the history, the vast history that South Africa has, and then being posted here and coming to South Africa, were you surprised? Were things different to what you thought?
They were, but you know what? It has been different. You will not guess it. The mountains.
Oh.
To say the truth, I did not expect the sort of mountains that you have here. Of course, everybody knows about Table Mountain,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
it's the characteristic
Yes.
photograph that you
Yes.
have from Cape Town or even from South Africa. I mean, you always think the Cape,
Yes.
Table Mountain,
Yes.
Kruger Park and all that. But then to see how the mountains are here, even if I come from a very mountainous country, you know,
Yeah.
Spain is the country in Europe with more mountains after
Yes.
Switzerland, then to come here and to see that mountains, I really did not expect it.
Wow.
And for me, it's one of the most attractive things of your country.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you can see their shape very well. You can see them very distinctively. There are not woods or, you know, forests that prevent you from seeing completely. And you find them more or less suddenly.
Yes.
And very bare and very clear shape. So for me, that was a discovery. I did not expect it to be so striking.
It is striking. I agree with you.
It is very striking.
If you travel around the Cape Town Western Province and travel through South Africa, there are amazing things that you see along the way. So sometimes we shouldn't always fly. We should drive and see the scenery, take time to enjoy it, as you say. And
Of course.
that's so true. I think Table Mountain was actually voted as one of the 7 wonders of the world. So
Yeah, indeed,
yes.
indeed. I mean, especially, it's really unique, you know. The only thing that I can think in the world that is somehow similar, somehow, understand me, no?
Yes.
Is the Ayers Rock, the Uluru in Australia.
Oh yes.
You know that it's also a big mountain, but of course it's alone,
Yes.
so to speak, in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. And it's very nice because you can draw a parallel when you come by plane to Cape Town and you see Table Mountain, and when you go to South Africa, to Australia,
Yes.
to Canberra or to Sydney by plane, and then from the plane, even an enormous distance, you can see the Uluru,
Wow.
you know, and then it's very striking.
Wow.
So you can have similar feelings
Yes.
when you see for the first time from the plane Table Mountain or the Uluru.
Sure. I must check that out actually. But Jose, we're going to take a break quickly. We'll be back with you in a moment. We are in conversation with the Consul General of Spain in Cape Town, Jose. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to The Diplomat with Stephen Taylor. Make sure that you are interacting with the show at Stephen Taylor SA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are in conversation still with the Consul General of Spain in Cape Town, Jose.
Yeah, very well.
Jose. I like that.
Very well.
Yeah. So tell me what areas you cover. Is it only Cape Town, the Western Cape, or tell us about the areas that you cover as a Consul General?
Well, I cover basically the Capes, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, Northern Cape, and also KwaZulu-Natal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's far away. I know it's not very usual, but
Yes.
it's still like that, you know. It's a sort of historical legacy, so to
Yes.
speak. Before the Consul General in Cape Town will cover the whole of South Africa, but then when our embassy developed more, then they took also some parts.
Okay.
But then KwaZulu-Natal was more or less in the middle, so to speak.
Can I help you with that name?
Tell me.
KwaZulu-Natal.
Oh, sorry, KwaZulu-Natal.
Yes. No. So I learned how to say not Jose, it's Jose. So KwaZulu-Natal.
KwaZulu-Natal.
That's perfect. There
Well,
we go.
thank
We're
you.
both learning, eh?
Yeah.
So that's a big area. Wow.
Yeah, that's a big area.
4 provinces, I think it is.
But the better for me, of course. I mean, it's more job, of course, but we have a honorary consul in Durban. So
Okay.
in that way, that helps very much, of course.
Yes, it does. So, okay, so tell us about Spain as a country. So you have the monarchy. Is it a king?
It's a king, yeah.
And a queen?
At present, well, and a queen, of course. The king and the queen, yeah.
At the moment you've
but
got
the
a
head
king.
of a state is the king.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a king at the moment, and then you've got a president.
A president of the government.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more or less like an standard European monarchy, I would say, in which, I mean, the executive power resides mainly in the government and in the president of the government. It's not just a prime minister, it's really the actual president of the government who appoints, I mean, who chooses the ministers, the members of his cabinet, and then the king, who has basically a symbolic moderating role according to our constitution, you know.
So you serve the king as
well, I serve my country under the king and the president of the government.
Okay.
You know, we cannot really separate the different elements. You know, you serve your country as a civil servant, which means that is a hierarchical structure, at the head of which, of course, is the king in that role that I have pointed out to you, and then the prime minister, the different minister, the minister of foreign affairs and cooperation, of course. And then, so to speak, I mean, what you do it under the instructions and under the rules that the government and the administration has. You know, it's not that you serve your country as a freelance. Or as a writer, or as a painter, or any other will serve your country.
So, okay, so talking about that, of course, you work closely with the ambassador in Pretoria. Who is the ambassador for Spain?
Mr. Carlos Fernandez Arias. We arrived, by the way, more or less 3 years ago.
Together?
Well, not together. He arrived first. And then I arrived some months later.
So your term is 4 years?
Normally 4 years, just the maximum. It is here in Cape Town in South Africa what we call a B posting, which means we can remain we should remain a minimum of 3 years and a maximum of 4. We have very clear rules in that sense, so to make sure that nobody remains in a country too many years or few years. So like this, everything goes smoothly and more in order.
So your posting will come to an end next year?
Next year, correct.
Hopefully if there's flights. Otherwise you can stay a bit longer. No, I know they will. I'm only joking. So tell us about the relationship between Spain and the Western Cape and South Africa. What is the relationship like?
Well, the relationship is a good relation. I mean, it's not as big or as intensive as we would like. I mean, if you take into account, for instance, the number of travelers between the two countries, you know, I mean, I think we get more or less like 40,000 Spanish travelers who come to South Africa every year, and maybe around 2,000 South Africans that go to Spain every year. So it's not such a big, Of course, if you compare it with 10 million visitors to your country or 84 million visitors to Spain, then is few. But the interesting thing that is increasing every year in a very sustained manner. I can tell you, in the last, the number of Spanish travelers to South Africa has increased maybe in 70% in the last 10 years. And the number of South African travelers to Spain, at least since 2017, is increasing more or less 80% a year.
That's good.
So exactly, we are in the right direction. And I think, you know, I always like to compare this sort of increased relations with our role in the World Cup in 2010.
No, I was going to mention that.
Yeah, because if you remember,
you guys won.
Yeah, we won, but very little by little.
Yes.
I mean, we only scored 8 goals, if you remember, with only 3 different players, I believe, no?
Yes.
Iniesta, Pujol, and Villa.
That's right.
And then only 2 matches, I think we scored 2 goals. The rest only 1. And we scored 1 goal to win against the Netherlands. But smoothly, little by little, we arrived to be champions. So I think we are, I mean, societies and companies are following the same path or the same tactics, you know, growing little by little, but constantly. And I think that's the good thing, because it's more solid, you know. It's not that suddenly there is an enormous rise, I don't know, in trade or or in visits, and then next year there are not so many, you know. So the line of action, I think, is good in the interest of everybody.
Yeah, that was a proud moment. Wow. The 2010 World Cup being hosted in South Africa, in Africa for the first time.
And for us, if you remember, we have been the first European country to win a world title outside Europe.
That's true. Yeah. Wow. So there was a lot of things to take home.
For us, it's an enormous significance. Yeah. I mean, if you speak now to South Africa, to any Spaniard, he will immediately link it, or she will immediately link it with the World Cup.
Yes.
You know, and of course.
Where were you at the time in 2010?
I was in Madrid, posted in Madrid.
Were you watching?
I was watching, and I was very lucky because, as I told you, my wife is Dutch.
Yes.
So, but luckily enough, she was in that moment visiting her parents in the Netherlands.
All right.
So we watched the match far away from each other.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I was surrounded with our son, and with my Spanish family, and she was surrounded with the rest of her Dutch family. So we avoided a sort of conjugal crisis or conjugal conflict, you know. And I will tease her because I will say, well, you must be very, very happy, I will tell her, because maybe you have been the country that has arrived to the final more times.
Yes.
You know, which of course it shows an enormous high level of soccer, you know. Yeah. But for us, is of course, although the Spanish team had a wonderful trajectory, as you remember, you know that we have, together with Brazil, the record of matches without losing.
Wow.
I think it's 38 in a row. And we were in the middle of that tendency.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it was the right moment for us. So, I mean, South Africa was the right country in the right moment for us to win the World Cup.
I won't tell you.
So it's only good memories.
I won't tell you at that time that I was walking around with the Netherlands flag.
Oh,
I apologize in advance.
Well, you should not apologize. I mean, we all had a wonderful time. I think.
No, it was a great moment.
And to arrive to the finals.
Yes. So well done, Spain. No, you guys had a good team. You still have a good team.
It's not so good as that one, but it's a wonderful team now.
Yes.
I mean, definitely.
No, amazing. Sure. I just think back 10 years ago, it was the World Cup, almost to the day.
Yeah, almost to the day.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We should celebrate somehow. We have, you know, a room at the consulate. Our meeting room is a sort of a small room where we have events or whatever, and we call it Andrés Iniesta room.
Oh, really?
Yes, in his honor, of course, because
he was a great player, hey? Not only in Spain, but around the world. He did some amazing things for football.
Yes.
A true ambassador. He definitely, I mean, if you think of the likes of Ronaldo, Messi, Iniesta, definitely up there. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And others, yeah.
So tell us about some of the projects that you're involved in as the Consul General here in South Africa.
Well, normally, as you know, our task as consul is mainly administrative.
Yes.
We are a sort of external counter for the Spanish administration, and we deal with legal matters, you know, marriages, births, passports, visas, all this sort of things. But also, of course, with what we call public diplomacy. And the event in which we have been more involved in the last year has been the 500th anniversary of the first circumnavigation of the world. You know that it was done by a Spanish sailor called Elcano. Yeah, and then one of the more critical moments was the crossing of the Cape. Oh. You know, because as you know, in those times, we are speaking of 2020, then the crossing of the Cape was not a sailing adventure.
No.
It was a question of death or life.
Yes.
And then, indeed, for us, they had to take many difficult decisions, and they did it, and they managed to cross, you know. It was, so it is one of those links, one of the few historical links that we can show in the relations between Spain and South Africa.
Wow.
And and of course the first circumnavigation of the world in itself was a major trade event, but also a major scientific event in many respects.
I think let's end on that note, because that's a good note to end. That's a great way to end for our conversation today. And Jose, time goes so quickly. Wow. Thank you really for coming on the show, and I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll definitely make a plan to get you back, because I know that there's a lot more that we can discuss, and also look at getting the ambassador on as well to talk to him. So thank you. I've learned a lot about, firstly, how to say it's not José, it's José. You learned how to say KwaZulu-Natal. Here we go. So we learned a lot. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Consul General of Spain, in conversation with him. Thank you for joining. What is your Twitter handle, by the way?
My?
Twitter handle. You're on social media? Twitter.
Oh, yes, we have a Twitter. Yeah.
What is your?
It's CG Cape.
Okay. All right. We'll put that on screen. We'll get that. We'll put a corner. We'll put it on screen like magic. Thank you. Another episode of The Diplomat. Thank you to the crew behind the scenes, Wade, Akona, and Papi. Another episode. We'll catch you back next week, same time, same place, at Stephen Taylor SA on social media. Take care. God bless.